Governor John Hickenlooper offered his formal support of 3 ballot issues ahead of the November election this week. In a Colorado Public Radio interview, Hickenlooper noted that he'll support the minimum wage hike, an increase in tobacco taxes, and the medical aid and dine proposal. Eric, the governor he is not a representative bellwether for Colorado voters, but he's still the governor of Colorado. What impact do you think these endorsements will have?
Oh, they're more impactful than any endorsement the 5 of us are going to make around the table. He is the governor of the state. I don't think a whole lot of voters, particularly swing voters, are going to go check off their ballot come 4 weeks from now, sitting around their kitchen table, and necessarily say, oh, I wonder what John Hickenlooper thinks about that. But yet it creates good press. It's a good press opportunity for each of these campaigns when they get the endorsement. Real quickly, I think the one that is most interesting to me is probably on the minimum wage increase, given that Hickenlooper comes out of the restaurant industry, given that the opposition is being led by the restaurant industry. The impact is probably most dramatic if this passes on the restaurant industry, that Hickenlooper went the other way. And it always raises the question of, Hickenlooper these days, how much of the lens that he's viewing this through is a Washington lens and trying to set himself up for some opportunity with the President Hillary Clinton.
Justine, I haven't seen the polling on the tobacco tax, but I would imagine a tax that's on a lot of other people usually does well. So, and we've seen the polling on medical aid and dine already doing well. But the minimum wage one is the one that's still probably going to be the one we're going to be watching in an election and see how it goes. Do you think this will be influential on that campaign?
Minimum wage, absolutely. I think a majority of people I have spoke to in my world seem to support minimum wage. And I think that's the idea that the economy is growing in Denver and in Colorado. And we're talking about all of this money coming in and how we're a booming economy. But I think the reality is a lot of people aren't feeling the benefits of that coming in. And so this is very important to a lot of people who are looking for, an increase in wages and being able to just live in this state. Everything has went up in the past decade besides in cost of living besides wages. So Americans and Coloradans especially are struggling to keep up. And I think that a lot of people are on the fence when it comes to whether or not this impacts small businesses, whether or not they can survive this type of hike. And having Hickenlooper's endorsement, I think, really helps the conversation to say, all right, we need a wage increase, and then we work out the issues behind the state.
Patty, what about what Eric and Justina made the point? Is Hickenlooper's endorsement of minimum wage increase, being a former restaurant owner, significant?
Well, it's certainly more significant than I think in the other 2 cases. It's going to be interesting to see how the restaurant industries push. Their biggest problem with it is the whole tip share issue, and they make a good argument that it is a real flaw in how this is written. I think in general, everyone thinks people should earn a fair wage for what they're doing, and so that is the regular sentiment. The other thing that might knock that one down is just, do we want it written into the Constitution? And that's also going to be an issue on the tobacco tax bill. I haven't looked that closely at it, but it's supposed to, the biggest arguments against it, besides why should we pay for our sins, is that it's writing more things into the Constitution. And I think there's going to be a real backlash this year for people who do not want to write more stuff into the Colorado Constitution.
That'll be another interesting race to watch. David, what's your take on the governor's endorsements?
I think the tobacco thing is another example of his long-running fiscal irresponsibility. This constitutional tax creates these vast pots of money which automatically flow to executive agencies, Department of Health mainly, to give out in grants and are basically immune from legislative control. If the Department of Health is spending money badly, the normal system is the legislature can cut their appropriation or put some specifics on how they're supposed to do it, and that's how things work in a normal democracy. But this creates vast pools of money that will be basically immune from legislative control or from anybody else's control in the political system.